Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Vigilantes Union Local 13. I'm Ben Ravensdale. I'll be the Game Master today. And today we revisit a hero that we've seen a couple of times before. Today we have...
I'm Amber. Actually, I'm Dana Prevey, but I'll be playing Amber today. So,
Perfect.
I think folks know her by now, so not too much of an introduction.
Exactly. When last we left off, Amber had thwarted a burglary attempt. Yeah, let's just say it's a burglary attempt at her family's home. And unfortunately, the villain slipped through Amber's fingers, quite literally, and escaped. But did not get away with the thing that the thief was after. So, yeah, I think we kind of pick back up probably the next day or a couple of days later, depending on, what Amber would get up to during that time. Having just, not lost, I mean, technically won.
Mm-hmm.
Technically.
Yeah. So she's probably staying at her parents' place until the substance can be put somewhere safe. And in the meantime, she's still going to work, especially because she wants to go through the files at the newspaper to investigate who this Chiral person is, if there's been any reporting on her, that sort of thing.
Okay.
I did just remember one thing that happened last session that might be relevant, which is that she did start teaming up with her coworker, Eliza Edmonds.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to remember how much she revealed to her, but basically, not obviously not any superhero stuff, but just that. Hey, maybe this would be an the break-in at the lab was the idea for the article, and so if anyone questions her on it, she's just gonna, say that she's doing some research for Eliza, and if Eliza asks her about this Chiral thing, she'll just say that it was something she saw written somewhere, and probably nothing, but
Probably nothing. Definitely nothing. Couldn't possibly be important.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing critical.
exactly.
Okay. I'm gonna say that. Actually, you know what? Hold on. I'm not just gonna arbitrarily decide anything. We're gonna let the fate deck decide. Trying to determine if Eliza would have heard about the whole situation at your parents' house. Because it's the kind of thing she probably would do, is like keep an eye out for any other attempted robberies or suspicious activities or whatever. So, okay. Yeah. Go ahead and give me I guess this would be a research type action, so I think it would be intellect. Would
Journalism?
Journalism factor into this? Let me see. I'm inclined to say probably not, but I could be wrong about that. So give me 1 second. Just go with access to this guy's channel. You know what? Sure. We'll say sure.
She's literally going through newspaper files, so.
Well.
All right. So she has a base of 4, and I'm going to go ahead and play this 5 of strength because she's very strongly going through these files. But that gives me a 9 with journalism skill.
Okay. Go ahead and redraw your card that you played, and I will. Oh.
Now I get that.
Yeah, that intellect card would have been really useful half a second ago. So yeah, you are kind of um, looking through archives and things like that, and doing internet searches and the like. And you are kind of surprised to find that this Chiral character is somewhat, I don't want to say low profile, but somewhat of an enigma. There are a few news reports that describe someone similar to what Amber encountered, or similar to who Amber encountered, but there isn't a lot of detail. It seems as if a couple of different heroes have tangled with her in the course of like stopping her from stealing things. She has kind of um, an odd focus to her thievery. She doesn't necessarily pick up like jewelry or anything like that. At least not as her primary like target. She actually tends to hit a lot of scientific structures and facilities. It's the kind of thing where for a while there were a number of like places would just be like, yeah, we were missing samples of this mineral or this ore or this whatever, and it was kind of just chalked up to someone misplacing it or bad record keeping or whatever, until a hero known as the Drake, sort of a investigator crime fighter style hero, a hero known as the Drake kind of ran across Chiral and kind of picked up on her pattern, and that's where the bulk of the information comes from, is that little like kind of caper. The Drake provided some information and gave a little bit of an interview with people, and that's kind of what you're able to find. It's not much, but it's at least kind of an insight into her MO.
All right. And does she seem to? Has she ever been recorded working with someone, or is she always sort of works on her own? Right?
There's no information on that you're able to find.
Okay, fair enough. And then I guess after getting as much as she can on that, at some point she will probably look up where that sewer. Well, I think I did this last time. I tried to look up where that sewer would let out, and it could be anywhere, more or less.
Yeah.
So, and it probably isn't relevant. It was just what we were flying over at the time.
Yeah. If it was a matter of like looking for a human-sized and shaped person,
right.
it would probably be a fairly low number of possibilities. But for someone who can seemingly turn into basically a liquid,
yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I probably spent some time gathering water samples for my dad to make sure that the mercury that she turned into didn't contaminate the water.
Oh yeah, I think you mentioned something about that last time. Yep. Yeah, it seems as if there's no trace of mercury left behind.
Oh, good.
So, and that includes like Amber doesn't have any on her skin or her gloves or anything like that either. So,
okay.
So yeah.
All right.
While you are, kind of tapping away at the computer and everything like that, you're kind of focusing on what you're doing, and as you kind of wrap up and like kind of close out the tabs, suddenly the reflection on your monitor, you see Eliza sitting behind you, kind of looking over your shoulder.
Hi, Eliza.
Hi. So,
got any tips on our story?
Well, a couple things, but
Oh.
want to tell me about what happened at your parents' place last night?
Oh yeah, there's a burglar of some sort, and fortunately that new gee, was it known that no. But fortunately we managed to chase him off. Um, so it was. I don't think they stole anything. We're kind of looking through everything now, but fortunately it wasn't a problem. But
Well, that's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
You know,
I
it's
think
weird. Normally, stuff like that, there's like a police report, and, it's the kind of thing that interested parties could find out about after the fact. But it seems like this whole thing was like, I don't know, hush hush, very, very low key, which is interesting.
no. That is strange. I wonder why that is. I can't imagine why. Um,
Luckily, I've got
but
a friend
uh-huh.
who works this kind of thing and mentioned to me that this had happened. So,
Oh,
you know,
that's a good kind of friend to have. I need to develop those kind of contacts.
you really should. It's a
I
key
really
skill.
should. Maybe you can introduce me to him sometime.
Maybe. We'll see.
But anyway, no. Fortunately, it was just someone broke in and we chased him off. So
I
not
heard
not a big deal.
I heard
Huh?
Mrs. Anderson was wielding a shotgun or something like that. Some sort of
Oh yeah.
heavy firepower.
It was. I think it was just your shotgun.
Hmm.
Mom's kind of a gun nut. So
And that
uh,
that new superhero was there, wasn't she?
was she? I wasn't sure. Actually, I don't know if the anyone saw her.
I do believe. Well, it's not necessarily that anybody saw her, but uh, your
Okay.
your your parents probably would have mentioned
Mentioned it.
something about it so that they were to explain like kind of what happened.
Okay. Oh, in that case, yeah. Oh yeah. No, she did was. It was really really exciting. I don't think I've ever actually met a superhero in the flesh before. Um,
Aha.
it's it. Thank goodness she was in the neighborhood.
Oh yeah, very very convenient.
Yeah.
It seems like a coincidence to me that your father's workplace would be broken into, and then his home would be broken into.
That is a coincidence. Yeah. Um,
Do you think maybe it was the
it-
same person?
well, I don't know. It's just someone breaking into a house is a lot different than breaking into a place like where Dad works. I mean, don't you think?
Well, in theory, yes, but again, it seems like quite a coincidence. Because it wasn't
It
just
is.
it wasn't even just any lab at the building. It was your father's at
Right.
TechMat.
Well, um, maybe that's how Amber knew is that she was keeping an eye on the house, and that's how she figured out that the burglar was there and could get there so quickly.
Oh, I'm maybe that would be that's a smart gut instinct to have. So clearly she's pretty smart.
Yeah, she seems that way.
Hmm.
Um, well, if she shows up again, maybe I can get an interview.
Yeah, next time you should, if you happen to be in the same place she's in.
Yeah, it was just there was so much going on that I just
Hmm.
didn't think to do it. But if she shows up again, I'll definitely ask her for an interview.
Good. Well, I have an appointment that I've got to get to. I'll make sure I say hi to your dad for you, but I think you should stay here and kind of clean up your desk a little bit.
Okay, you're going to have an interview with my dad?
Oh, yes. It's just just a quick thing. Just a couple of sound bites, quotes, things like that.
Okay. I mean, I could always get that kind of stuff too. It's, it's not like I don't go see him all the time.
No, I totally understand. But, well, let's just say divide and conquer.
Okay. If you think that's what's best, and you've been doing this a lot longer than I have, so...
You keep looking into this Chiral person. It does seem like this is sort of her,
Yeah, it does kind of seem like her MO.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah.
That's a good call. Again, good instincts.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'll get back to work on that and write up what I've gotten so far.
Okay. She kind of sits there for a second, like, sort of expectantly, and then finally shrugs and she leaves.
Okay. I'll turn around and go back to work because Amber hasn't noticed that anything might be amiss.
Exactly. Are you still staying at your parents'? Like, are you planning on going back to there tonight?
I am actually. Yeah,
Okay.
I think I'm gonna stay there until the situation is resolved. I mean, she'll
Okay.
stop by her apartment to get the mail and water the plants,
Okay.
kind of thing. But,
Got to take care of the important stuff. Those
Yeah.
plants, they're dependent.
well, I mean,
So
Ember, it should be noted, does not have pets.
good to know. Today, or this time around, we have another episode starring
Ghost. Ghost, also known as Jessa, is your local phasing and possibly dimension traveling hero. She's signed the union paperwork, she's ready to go, and she's out there now.
Now it's just a matter of the union vote going through. Alright. So, I've got your character sheet up, I've got their character sheet up. When last we left Ghost, having just signed the paperwork with Deirdre, who seemed less than enthusiastic about her job, if we're being honest. Well, passionate, but not necessarily finding joy in it, if that makes sense. Before that, though, there was a little hullabaloo on social media with a particular individual calling Ghost out. Why don't you tell me what you remember about this individual?
I don't quite remember the name. They're a gunslinger, like they have a Wild West theme going, and really made their name basically having showdowns with other heroes. Not really like a name as a crime fighter or anything like that, but as a showdown with other heroes kind of thing.
Yep. So, Wrangler is the name. And you're right, he's a bit of a showboat. He has a pretty decent social media presence. The majority of his content is him, like sort of showing, like, videos of him, like, doing, like, training stuff, and, basically he'll say, like, oh, this week I'm training to fight this hero, and, so this exercise will help me with this, and, like, that kind of thing. But he's also got a number of videos up of him actually fighting a lot of fairly well-known heroes, and a few villains mixed in there as well. He doesn't seem like he's ever out to actually legitimately kill or hurt anybody. He just likes showing off for the camera. And that is kind of his deal.
Yep. Okay.
Let's see. I'm going to make that a little bit easier to deal with. There we go. I will specify he doesn't actually have guns. He doesn't. At no point does he ever use a firearm. He looks like a gunslinger, but he, just so you know, he does not actually have any.
The hat, the duster,
Exactly. Yeah.
I look like Grifter, headband in front of his face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Just the bandana, classic outlaw style.
Yep.
So yeah, he posted a video calling Ghost out for. Let's put it in optimistic terms. He was inviting Ghost for a conversation.
Yeah.
Whether or not Ghost sees it that way, I don't know. But, this is what you know about the guy. He gave you a general location, basically said, like, the rooftops in this area, which means that everybody on social media in the local area that follows him is probably going to be out and about somewhere, like trying to catch video or clips or whatever the case may be. So, depending on how media-friendly you are, you may want to lay low, or you may just want to walk in. It's up to you.
No, we'll she's gonna sneak in on the outer edge of everything, right? Like, here's the general neighborhood. She's gonna be right outside that general area, or right on the edge of it, and like get up on top of the roof of a building and look.
Okay. Are you like walking? Like, are you approaching the area as Jessa, and then like kind of getting into your ghost costume once you're there, or?
Yeah, she's gonna scope it out as Jessa first and see what's going on.
Okay. There is a certain degree of like. I wouldn't say it's a full-blown, like, frenzy by any means, but it's kind of got the same sense as, like, Halloween night when you're going up to that neighborhood that's known for having, like, the really great decorations and the good candy. Like, there's kind of an energy, there's a buzz, people are kind of, like, they're talking, and they're not necessarily there for this, but if they're in the area anyways, then they're excited about it. It's not a purely residential neighborhood. It's that there are actually a fair number of like cafes and restaurants. He picked a trendy part of town. It's not like trendy, but it's just popular enough for the local neighborhoods that it's well known and well traveled.
People will get video of it.
Yes, exactly. It's high profile. Another thing you notice about Wrangler is that he does not like pander to like the high society, like the like the. He's not.
He's looking at blue collar, not white collar.
Yes, exactly. He's not pandering to like the the baller types who are out there like flashing their money on social media and stuff like that. He's much more like lower middle class, blue collar focused in a lot of his I guess like outreach. So yeah. All right, so you get there as Jessa. Give me a you know what? Go ahead and give me an observation action, or willpower action using observation.
Yeah. Was thinking about looking around for any cameras that might have been pre-set up. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so that's going to give you a boost, which means you are going to get to draw another card off the top of the deck and add that to what you're playing. And a 7. Okay, so that's a 16.
16 plus 8.
So 24, and you have observation. Okay.
And have observation, yeah.
Go ahead and draw the card back. Just tuck those up there as the discard. And you're kind of keeping low profile, keeping, casual, fly casual, right? And you kind of scout out the edge, maybe a street or so, like, into that neighborhood, and you notice that there are basically a couple of people on one of the fire escapes, one of whom is dressed as like Wrangler, but doesn't have the mask on, and he's kind of leaning back like against the fire escape. He's like puffing on a vape, and he's talking with a woman who is dressed like Ghost, but again, not wearing the mask. She a pretty close, like, approximate body double. Her costume actually looks a little bit nicer than Ghost's. And they're kind of chatting and everything like that, and then the guy's like, yeah, kind of nods, and she takes her phone out and they lean in together and they take a selfie, and then they take another selfie, and then they kind of like get their business faces on, and they're like, kind of miming. You can't hear anything they're saying, but they kind of like, okay, so up on the roof, and then like you're gonna go out to the edge and like look over, and then I'm gonna show up, and then we're gonna, and they're like basically kind of like choreographing, like putting together this choreography like fight almost. And nobody else kind of notices this. They've picked like the perfect spot for people to be oblivious, because they're trying to get towards the center of this little spot, so they can have the best likelihood of finding, you guys when you fight, you and Wrangler. So yeah, like they're clearly prepping for something.
Oh my. I'm gonna take a short video.
Okay.
Well, they're discussing this.
All right. Like I said, you're not close enough to get any audio, but it's, camera phones these days or phone cameras are good enough these days that low light conditions don't matter too much.
No, cameras are really well made nowadays on those phones.
Yeah. Like, I see things better through my camera at night than through my own eyes. So,
sounds about right.
Yeah. So you catch a little bit of a little bit of a recording of that, and then they kind of shake hands, like they put their masks on. They do another quick like face off type type selfie, and then like she kind of turns and she actually does like a couple of very acrobatic, like she like vaults over the side of the fire escape, and then kind of up onto the roof, and he like kind of stretches and kind of opens the window he's standing next to and pulls out a couple things, closes the window, and kind of like puts on the rest of his kit, and he kind of like looks at his watch and he's like, and probably about, depending on how long you wait there,
I'll give it I'll watch, okay. See what happens.
About 10 minutes in, he goes up onto the roof. You definitely hear people like, hey, look, there he is, and like this is kind of like a couple streets away, and then you hear people like another kind of commotion go off as they start thinking, oh, there's Ghost, and then they obviously some stuff is going on because the crowd is like, oh my gosh, like there's a news camera, like a news helicopter going around up above. There are some police that are kind of like holding, like they've got like a barricade type thing up, but generally speaking, the police don't get involved in superhuman stuff if there is a hero there to deal with it, and so they're kind of keeping a perimeter so people don't get too close, because sometimes things explode, but yeah,
I'm gonna kit up.
Okay.
Go find a quiet spot, kit up, and come back.
Are you heading up to the roof, or are you staying on the street?
Stay on the street.
Okay.
I'm gonna walk up to kind of where the barricade is and like the majority of the crowd, and say, "What's going on? is Wrangler fighting somebody else?
And everybody's like, no, he's fighting Ghost. That's a cool cosplay. You're missing the and they mentioned like an element on the costume that the lady up on the roof is wearing. And then you hear oh hey, like that guy's Wrangler cosplay is great. Oh, here, stand together so I can get a picture.
Can I just walk right through the guy instead of standing next to him?
The Wrangler cosplayer?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I'll walk right through him.
And you keep walking, or do you like walk through him?
And I just walking towards wherever the fight is going on.
Okay. They're like, everybody kind of like goes quiet for a second, and then he says, you hear him say, like, hold on a second, folks, let me talk to my partner here. And he kind of comes up behind you, and he's like, maybe you should play along with the cosplay thing for a minute. I'm trying to keep our conversation low profile.
What conversation?
Conversation I invited you to have. The video.
And you're having a stunt performer play me in a bad costume that doesn't even match?
And me. Listen, everybody was going to know we were here, so I had to make sure there was a bit of a distraction. Keep people interested, draw the cameras. That way you and I can have a conversation, and it's not a whole thing.
A conversation about what?
Let's go somewhere a little bit less public, and then we can talk about it.
No, I think we're good here having a conversation.
Specifically, I'd like to work with you.
You'd like to work with me?
Yeah.
Okay. You'd like to work with me in what way?
Well, he kind of like looks around because you guys are talking fairly quietly, but like the people that are there kind of gather around are still kind of like half paying attention. So he's like,
I walked right through him, so they're kind of confused as to who's the ghost and
yeah,
who's the
exactly. Like there's definitely conversation going on, and people like, so it any moment now it could turn into a bit of a circus. And he says, well, I saw the whole thing with the big monster at the university, and I like to, well, I would like to break into monster hunting. Not exactly easy to find monsters, so I thought maybe you and I could work something out. You could introduce me, get a little bit of footage.
That I can't. It's a little hard when you're dealing with mythical beasts. So
Well, maybe we
there's
can
no
talk about that.
guarantee when they'll show up.
Well, that does make this a bit of a sticky wicket. Well, like I said, let's go chat somewhere a little bit less public. We can work out some details. If you're comfortable with that, of course.
It's not comfortable for me, no. I'm not so sure right now.
All right.
I'm new to the game, You've been around for a while.
That's true. And I gotta say, when I put that video up, views went through the roof. They always like new challengers and stuff like that. So I was thinking, yeah, even if this goes badly and you decide to punch me in the face or something like that, well, that'll be good for ratings too.
Yeah. I get that. I've got your socials. I can find you if I need you.
Sure thing. Kind of tips his hat and says, not the way I was hoping this would turn out, but can't say it's the worst outcome, so...
And then Ghost just walks to the side of a building and walks out.
He kind of like does finger guns, like, and then turns around and saunters off.
We've got some people very confused as to what was going on and how it was happening.
Yeah, like this street is less interested in the fight and more interested in what's going on there. And as you walk away and kind of like phase through the wall and like you kind of confirm what everybody thought they saw earlier, like people kind of mob him and everything like that. And it kind of becomes a matter of like the people on the roof. They kind of like realize the attention's not on them anymore, so they kind of like they really quickly kind of like truncate the whole scene, and then they scamper off the roof. So yeah.
Yeah. I'll take the video I shot right,
Mm-hmm.
and where it shows them planning and discussing what's happening, kind of back and forth thing.
Yeah.
The two actors, and I'll put it up in a Discord, or in a Discord where it's just suddenly going to spread like wildfire, and tracing who it came from gets really hard.
Okay. All right.
Because I'm not going to upload it directly from my phone. It'll wind up on some on a through a VPN upload kind of thing, so they can't track it directly. So
okay.
Because I think that's hilarious as hell.
Response is mixed. A lot of people are like kind of mad about it. Other people are like kind of going into conspiracy theories and speculating and
the ghost footage from the street where
exactly. And there's like a side-by-side of like timestamps of different videos, like showing like Ghost walking through Wrangler and then the building and then the other Ghost up on top of the and yeah, it's a whole thing. There's one like very there's a bit of a it goes a little bit viral in a bad way, in that the young lady who was basically playing as Ghost, she basically goes and posts a video to like her socials and stuff like that to talk about how like now she can't get any gigs and like this has ruined her life, and like she's crying, and like it's a whole thing. They start a GoFundMe campaign for her, and so
I mean, I figure she'll be fine, but Jessa will make a couple posts like, your choreography was great. Where did you learn how to fight like that? What school did you go to? A couple comments like that in a couple of spots, because she doesn't want to hurt the girl. She just
right. Yeah, I mean, they were going to get found out eventually, so it's not like they were taking the most like high security approach to the deal. So, but yeah, ultimately it ends up with like it ends up with her getting a gig as like an actual like stunt performer, down the road. So it'll work out for her. She's just a couple of weeks of things being really awkward for her on social media. So
yeah.
So yeah, what do you want to? You do get a couple of messages, you've got his social media. He doesn't have yours. Never mind.
No, he can post videos if he wants for me to see, but
there are a couple other videos he puts up just saying like, hey Ghost, still here, type of thing. Just like they're quick little like 5-second things he uploads to like TikTok or whatever.
Yeah. Ghost is just completely Jessa and is just hilarious, finds it amusing as hell, and then slowly gets kind of annoyed with how frequently he's posting.
I wouldn't say he posts like ad nauseum. It's just like, every couple of days he'll do a quick little like.
Still hanging out in Portland.
Yeah, it seems like he's really, and he's actually started talking to his followers as like, oh yeah, Ghost and I had a talk, while the show was going on, while the theatrics were going on, Ghost and I had a talk, she's gonna bring me along next time she fights her sea monster. You guys are gonna see me in action against a non-human opponent for the first time, and this is like, he kind of goes into like a new training regimen and stuff like that. It's a bit of a thing.
Okay.
So
No, whatever works for him. Whatever works for him.
As you were saying before you had to cut last recording, last session you met a Blockade Securities limited officer by the name of Ark. She gave her name as Sergeant Joan Smith, but her code name, operational name is Ark. She had been hired by Professor Calamitous to provide security at his facility. But Compiler, the ever-logical being that it is, decided that it was best to just directly tell this person that Professor Calamitous may have been involved in kidnapping a scientist. At which point Ark decided that she couldn't be party to criminal activities, so she was going to cooperate with you, at least. She wasn't going to stand in your way, and she did do a little bit of recon for you of the building. Yeah, I think that's basically where we left off.
That sounds about right to me.
Okay. All right. So in that case, is this no? Aha, here we go. This is her. And the scientist in question that you are seeking is Dr. Linda Lee, a computer and robotics expert working for Hark Media Advertising on a very, very top-secret hush-hush project. So, yeah. Any questions before we kick off?
No, I don't think I have any questions.
Okay. All right. Well,
mild panic, so appropriate for the character.
So the goal is to rescue Dr. Lee in order to figure out how to locate another robotic entity that you are on the trail of. I believe you know the name of that.
Yes. Project Facelift.
Project Facelift. Yep, that's correct. Okay, so yeah.
Yes, I do feel like I should clarify though. Compiler is less interested in finding this facelift and more interested in, oh no, I got this woman kidnapped, I have to deal with that.
Right. It's kind of become the primary focus of this initial arc, which is good. Like, not everything goes the hero's way, so. All right, so you are standing in front of, you're standing in the parking lot of a fairly large, like I said, corporate office building that Professor Calamitous purchased and set up shop in. It is ostensibly still, it's got like the big for sale billboard up, even though it says sold across it, on the little bit of the lawn between the street and the parking lot. The building itself is sat fairly far back on the parking lot. And there are a couple other smaller kind of industrial, I want to say strip malls, but that's not what they are. It's almost like an industrial strip mall where it's got like auto shops and things like that. And this corporate building is a very old one. It's definitely seen better days, but it's also somewhat remote and isn't going to garner a lot of attention, which makes it perfect for a supervillain's lair. It is multi-story. I'd say it's 7 stories, I think, and you were basically told that you wanted to go up to, I think it was the 5th floor? 4th floor?
I think 5, yeah.
5th floor sounds right. You were told to go up to the 5th floor using the stairwell and basically take the hallway that leads directly out of the stairwell, and it's the last door on the left is where you wanted to go.
All right. Sounds good.
So, what is Compiler's approach? How is it gonna handle this?
Well, Compiler knows that it is not the stealthiest thing in existence, but it is relatively handy. So I was thinking that maybe I should try to improvise some sort of sound dampener. I'm not going to be good at sneaking, but if I can silence the 800-pound footfalls, that would be great.
Okay. I like it. Let's see here. So, you basically want to duplicate a power called Sonic Control, which would let you... Yeah, so Sonic Control... Now, do you want it to just dampen sound, or do you want it to be something that, in a pinch, could also emit sound?
Honestly, I think I'm not looking for sound emitting. Like,
Okay.
Compiler really doesn't want to fight here. It just wants to get in and find Dr. Lee and get out, so... Best case, just totally silent, and that's it.
Okay. So then the major question is going to be... Well, basically there are a few questions that we want to ask ourselves. First one is, what intensity do you want this to operate at? The higher the intensity, the more difficult the action. Keeping in mind that an intensity of 1 is very, very weak, and generally the intensity scale for powers goes up to 20. So 10 is about the midway point.
Okay. I guess I don't know how intensity would work with this particular ability. Looking at the invention charts that you sent me back when we started talking about this.
Oh, I did send it. Perfect. Okay.
It looks like an intensity 2 would be enough to cover 2 individuals for an effect.
I
really need to go with that.
The chart is a little bit misleading. So basically, each column is going to independently affect the difficulty. So if you want to go for an effect that affects 2 individuals, that's 2 points of difficulty. If you want it to be at intensity 2, that's another 2 points of difficulty for 4 points.
I see. Okay.
The other thing is that your research is always going to be relatively short, because you're doing these kind of on the fly. So
exactly,
I'm going to kind of default it to the 1 minute of research, basically you taking the time to kind of think it through and figure out how you're going to build this thing with your alchemy. So that's a 6 points by itself.
Right.
And then the distance is going to be, for this, it sounds like it would be striking distance, basically just in your immediate vicinity.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then, so that would be another 2 points. So that's 16 points if you want it intensity 2. And then you probably wanted it concentration duration, so that's a 17. And then this is an intellect power, so that's another 4 points. That's a 21.
That's pretty rough.
It is. Now,
right.
the good thing is you're starting at you're going to use your alchemy intensity, so you're starting at a 10. And then you're going to include any one of your scientific genius skills would apply, like either electronics or mechanics or whatever the case may be. So that's going to reduce the difficulty by 4. So you're basically sitting on a starting point of a 10. You need to get what did I say, 21?
That's what you said a moment ago, yes.
Yeah. So then you need to get a 17 total.
Okay. Well, that feels much more doable.
Yeah. Once you kind of do the math, you're like, okay, that's not so bad.
All right, yeah. And let's go ahead and drop that 6 in there.
All right.
It's a blue card, and I'm going to need to maybe flip one.
Yeah, so you're going to draw the top card. That's going to give you a boost and a 2. Okay, so that's going to give you an 18. I'm going to say, because you got 1 point of intensity higher than you needed, you got 1 point of success higher than you needed, we're going to bump the intensity up by 1 point. So it'll be intensity 3 sonic control. Oh, but you know what? You're imposing a limit because you're doing just silence. So we're going to give that another +2 to the intensity for a total of a 5.
I mean, I'm certainly not going to complain.
All right, so I'm going to do a quick handout. I'm going to call it a silence emitter, which doesn't make any sense, but from a realistic perspective, but it's more comic booky than a sound dampener. So let's see, control 5, limit silence only, stunt. Now the thing with these is that they won't last beyond this session, so I'm just gonna give you that because it's sort of a temporary power rather than adding it to your character sheet. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good start. Go ahead and draw a card to replace the intellect card you played, and then my only other question is, what materials are you using to build this? Like, where are you getting the raw material?
It does need to be designed from inanimate objects. So I guess the way I always envisioned this working was being able to reconfigure machines rather than just pulling chunks of the ground out. That doesn't seem like it's...
Yeah.
So probably it would try to find, like, maybe a security camera or something that it could disable and just rebuild into a new form.
Okay.
And failing that, it's a machine. It can pop one of its arms off.
Fair enough. And I mean, I think it's safe to say that people probably already know that you are present. Being as Ark responded to you being there and everything like that, so they most likely saw your approach. But that doesn't mean that sneaking is a bad idea. So then, how are you going to? So you've got this device. What's your approach from there?
I mean, honestly, with that device in hand, my entire thought here is to get in and follow Ark's directions as fast as possible and then get back out.
Okay, that's fair. Give me 1 second, actually. I just realized I need to check something.
Sure.
Because I think...
Oh. Again? What? Yeah, especially, like, standing in a parking lot. I'd be very surprised if someone smashed through a window.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then, yeah, you are equipped with your new gadget. Where do you want to go from there?
I mean, it might not be the most heroic thing in the world, but Compiler really, really does not want to get into a fight today or any time, honestly.
Okay.
So I think it's really just going to go in, and I believe Ark gave me directions to the stairs, but I truly don't recall, and if not, I'll just have to find them.
Yeah, in a building like this, the stairs are pretty prominently located, so it's easy enough to find them just by kind of entering the building.
Yeah, pure no clearance, no scouting, just in and out.
All right. So then, I think... Let's see... are you activating your silence emitter now, or are you going to wait?
Honestly, yeah, I think it's got to be now, because
Okay.
in order to move through this building without being, immediately laser beamed, I have to be at least a little stealthy.
Okay. So then you've got flight, so I'm going to assume that you're kind of like hovering above the ground rather than walking. I forget. Oh, wait. Do you have like a jetpack flight? I forget what we determined.
I believe there were booster rockets in the feet.
Okay, so maybe not flying in closed quarters then.
Yeah, that would
Okay.
be real, just scorch marks all over the floor. I wonder where he went.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then you're on foot. Your silence emitter currently is working just fine. It's covering the sound of your footsteps without any problems. Perhaps the difficulty is that obviously the place isn't completely empty. Professor Calamitous has done a little bit of preparation to defend this lair if he needs to. So as you kind of enter the building, and you're quiet, so that is helpful. But there are automated defenses set up. It looks like some sort of turret at basically the end of both hallways that's kind of pointed down to cover this. Like, this corner is covered by two turrets, basically the two hallways that are leading off from the point where you entered. So you don't feel like they've activated yet. You're not sure if they're motion activated or sound activated or what, but you kind of are able to peek your head out through the basic little foyer door, and kind of spot this. They're not exactly subtle. So
Okay. Don't love that. Would
actually, sorry, real quick, I will say, you've got a skill in electronics. So I'm going to say that when you kind of repurposed the security camera, you get the feeling that these things are probably they're probably activated by motion on those security cameras. So that's why you kind of have a little bit of an opportunity here. If you were to move out into the hallway fully, you get the feeling they would notice you and they would activate at that point.
okay.
So, yeah.
I don't know. The abilities I have listed here, are there specific ranges for them?
So generally speaking, I want to say computer link is a touch.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Computer link is a touch based. I want to say, but I could be crazy. Let me make sure. Let's see. Here, you must be able to access the computer, usually by means of an implant, or try to break into. Actually, it doesn't specify. So I'm going to say that in today's day and age of Bluetooth, digital connections and stuff like that, that as long as you are within a reasonable proximity, that you can do it at range.
Okay. Rad. I guess my thought here was, if these are linked into the system somehow, would it be possible for me to prematurely trigger them so they wind up firing at each other?
Gotcha. So they, yeah, I guess that would actually make sense. Yeah, because originally I was envisioning it that you were at the corner of the building, but that doesn't make sense because the main entrance for an office building wouldn't be at the corner; it'd be kind of central. So there would probably be a hallway, and they'd be at both ends. So that makes more sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
like, this is a weird office building with a corner entrance. That's cool too.
No, he didn't go for anything like with interesting design features. This is just a bog standard block of concrete and glass. So, yeah, you could definitely give that a try. What is the? Well, let's see. Let me rate his thing here. So we'll go. Oh, but he doesn't have that skill. So let's go. Okay. Oh, you know what? No, that's actually not for me. That is, I'm gonna make this public information because that's the way it's supposed to work. So I know what the base difficulty is based on Professor Calamitus's construction methods. And so what I'm going to do is I'm now going to flip a card for the narrator card that will add to that opposition to give you an idea as to what's going on. Okay, so that's a 5 of intellect, which is going to make things a little bit trickier for you, but not impossible. So, yeah.
Honestly, this seems like it's gonna go poorly either way, but I'm gonna have to give it a go, so...
So what are you doing in the meantime?
In the meantime, Jessa's doing some research and, working on her degree and all that, but what little free time she has between her gymnastics and her degree, she's working hard on a very specific research path of anything she could find about Atlantis outside of Plato. Because, Plato's the standard reference of it, so she's like, well, Plato's easy. Well, what else is there that's old, kind of referencing? What stories are there? Trying to bring up everything she can.
All right, give me an intellect action using history.
Intellect action. Mm-hmm. Okay. Ooh, Doom card.
Ooh, my first Doom card. I forgot to grab my deck. Hold on. Oh, my pretties. You don't get enough use.
In person is so much harder, isn't it?
These days it is. Once you factor in travel time, people are like, well, I mean, it turns a 4-hour game into a 5.5-hour game, and I don't know if I can really spare that. And online is just easier, and you can wear your pajamas. So.
Yeah, generally you can get away with a lot more.
Yeah.
So that's a 9 plus my intellect 5. That's 14.
Ooh.
With history as my intellect emphasis.
The card I drew for the Doom card is the Shadowcat card, so it's funny that you just played it.
Which I just played.
Yeah. Good stuff. So 9 plus 5 is 14, and then you've got the skill. Okay.
I got the skill.
All right, I'll go ahead and discard these. You can redraw your card. So yeah, basically what you find is... So this is going to sound a little bit weird, but bear with me for a moment. You kind of find a lot of, like you said, Plato, but more modern stuff. There's a lot of like ancient aliens and that kind of thing. But like you're kind of reading like just more when you're bored and you're like, okay, I can't look at search engine results anymore. Like you just gotta click into an article here and there and just kind of okay, whatever. But it starts to kind of like not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily all piece together, but you feel that there's enough accuracy at certain points throughout these like tabloid stories and speculative history and all this stuff that you're like, okay, like this actually could be pieced together into a cohesive timeline and kind of like series of events.
Mhm.
And it's, you know, lots of little things that sort of lead you to this, but there is a trying to figure out like what a 14 tells you. So you do find some stuff to verify what Chancellor told you when you were talking to him.
Yeah.
You know, there's more information about, like, you know, Amazons in Greece that, you know, they had a number of different enemies, and there are a few, this of course being a more superhuman setting, like world than ours, there are a few people who have, like, lineages tracing back to the Amazons and stuff like that. And so they, you know, they go on some of these shows and say, oh, you know, this copper blade was, you know, wielded against the Atlanteans by my blah 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 grandmother, and like it at the very least it confirms what Chancellor told you.
Yeah.
As far as any more information about it, there isn't anybody who claims to be like a descendant of Atlantis. Not even like, you know, not even people who are going for the kind of like conspiracy value or anything like that. Like it just seems to be a thing that's far-fetched enough that most people don't even bother trying it because they know people aren't going to believe them.
People claiming to be Amazon descendants, sure. Descendants of Atlantis.
Well, because did Atlantis even really exist, and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But you piece that together with the, you know, the old legends of the sea people who raided all the time into Egypt and Mesopotamia. It kind of falls together, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although, so what you do kind of determine through your research and everything like that those are kind of not propaganda, but like I'm trying to think of another example where like one group of people like fell and then afterwards everybody, like Carthage, you know, when Rome took over Carthage, all of a sudden they were saying all these things about Carthaginians and they were doing all this stuff, and it's like historical records indicate none of that's probably true, but they weren't around anymore to argue it. So a lot of the stuff about like people from the sea kind of like raiding settlements on the land and stuff like that is, so far as you can tell, there's nothing to corroborate any of that, which would kind of make sense because you know, presumably all the Atlanteans died when Atlantis, you know, was thrown into the sea. Except, of course, the ones who died, but their spirits are still around. But, you know.
Those trapped in the hearts, which leaves me... I'm curious to have another conversation with the Chancellor, but I'm not sure I want a chance having, you know, Leviathan in a fight again.
Could bring Wrangler with you.
Oh yeah, that'd be lovely. She really does not want to bring Wrangler into this because Leviathan got the best of her, almost guaranteed. Like, she was lucky, is her thoughts on it. And nothing she has seen from any of Wrangler's footage proves that he's, like, you know, superhuman, like, in that level. He's seems to just be really skilled at things. That leaves her, one, worried about safety, and two, doesn't want a chance having a non-union member right now, because having read that contract, the union's not in place. It's also a little, you know, a little iffy for her.
I will say he looks like he might be kind of legit. Like I said, he fights these other heroes, and he doesn't lose all of them. He doesn't even lose half of them, I would say. Usually it's very much like oh, that was a great fight, thanks very much, and then he ducks out.
Yeah, and that
probably because he's worried his hard drive is full, and it's going to lose whatever footage he would get if he kept going. But yeah, he's legit.
Yeah, she is a little nervous though, because she does know he's not in the Union.
That is true. Yes, he's very public about that.
But she's also like, yeah, he's fought these other heroes, but were any of them really, were they holding back? Because the
Pulling their
Rainbow
punches.
Queen,
Yeah,
the Rainbow Queen pulling their punches because they're fighting in Queens, their hometown, and they don't want to blow things up.
right.
Is that a thing that was happening? She's not sure, but yeah.
That is a very fair thing to be worried about. I will say, by the way, that there is a very die-hard Ghost Wrangler shipping community. It's out there. It's the internet, so of course there is. But
what rule is that? 34?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. She ignores it completely. She's like, no. She does not read superhero slash. It's not her thing.
Wrangler does post a couple of videos going on the record saying there's no romantic interest between us. We've really only talked one time. I'm just waiting for the opportunity to collaborate with her again. A lot of influencer kind of speak in there. So
yeah, she's going to take her research in a path down towards the Amazons a bit more.
Okay.
As she goes, and she's going to try and see what she can find out about what the Amazon tools were that they used against Leviathan.
Oh, wait.
Okay, so they're claiming this bronze blade, all that stuff. What did the Amazons use against Leviathan? Let me see if I can find that out. Because if I'm going to have to face him again to get some help with my powers, which may or may not be Atlantean in nature, I need something. Yeah, she's been avoiding the heart for the past week as she's done the research, because she just is so not ready to jump into that thing again. Almost getting crushed by Leviathan twice, kind of,
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that gives anybody a little bit of a second thoughts. Plus, the heart seems like it can pull you in if you're too close to it. So why risk that again?
Yep.
Okay. Give me a intelligence. This isn't going to be based on mythology, which you also have the skill for, but we'll go with it again. Ooh, that's going to be good for you.
Dang.
Not bad.
That's 16, 21.
21.
And I've got
the
skill. Very nice.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and draw your card back, and yeah. So you are ready. You are on alert. If anything tries to hit you, you are going to be out of there.
Going to be gone.
Yeah. So. Okay. So there is a lot of... Obviously, there's a lot to sift through, but mythology is kind of your bag. It's what you're into. So that helps a lot because you already know a lot of the places to kind of start, and a lot of the things that you can weed out. So as a result, you are fairly quick in identifying a few things. One, that there is a substance known as the Tears of Cassandra, which are, related to the Cassandra of Greek mythology, that that supposedly the Amazons and other Greek heroes, if they were granted this particular boon, could drink, and it would essentially give them preternatural senses to the point where they could react far more quickly than a normal human. And this is, this kind of myth sort of basically says that the Amazons in particular would often drink these in preparation for a very, very high stakes fight. The drawback to them is that they often resulted in the warrior dying afterwards, even if they were victorious. So very much kind of a Pyrrhic victory type of thing. It wasn't the sort of thing that was used lightly. The other thing is that there were a group of Amazonian, essentially sorceresses or wizards, that they were collectively known as the Fates, and the Fates were divided into 3 arms, and that in order to destroy Atlantis, basically, instead of the warriors drinking the Tears of Cassandra, the Fates did, which was something that they didn't know what was going to happen. They were like, well, we kind of need to deal with this now, so we're going to take a Hail Mary, and they got rid of Atlantis, but the Fates basically died out as a result.
Okay. Well, nothing about, weaponry that would be stronger or more effective against him in that case.
No, there are basically anything that was forged by and wielded by Amazons was particularly effective against the Atlanteans. It was kind of how they managed to keep the Atlanteans from taking over to begin with. It seemed like their blades could kind of cut through some of the Atlanteans' magic. It could actually sever. It was almost a physical thing. Any mind control or possession or anything like that the Atlanteans were using on people, which was a very common tactic. That is what you find. So.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So, Ghost is right. There's people out there claiming they have Amazonian weapons and stuff, but is there anything on campus or in the immediate vicinity of Portland that might be good?
Yeah, there's a private collector that your department is relatively familiar with, because you often work with them to bring in pieces for lectures and things like that. They're local to Portland. They've got a large portion of their collection in Portland. So yeah, you could theoretically talk to that individual. Give me a moment while I... So collector's name is Camin Tremblay. Tremblay.
Okay. Pen Tremble? Or did I misspell that?
Tremblay. It's Blay at the end.
Blay. Okay, there we go.
Yep.
I did mishear that.
Tremblay. Sorry.
Okay.
All
right.
Yeah, they're often considered to be a little bit eccentric. Definitely one of those, we've got enough money that anything we do that's off the wall or, whatever is considered eccentric rather than a matter of concern. Not that they are a wild, crazy person that goes out and does all kinds of stunts or gets arrested for various crimes that would get most people put in jail. Just sort of one of those eccentric artist types without necessarily being an artist. They will pay people to do kind of eccentric and out there art stuff as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
But very involved in the historical relics scene as well. You probably would have the contact information as well through the department.
Yeah. Do I know his address? Or their address?
Not their address, no. The only contact information you have is a pager number.
Okay. I'm gonna go buy a burner phone. It's the easiest way to do this, so it's not my phone directly.
Okay.
And I'll message the pager from the burner phone.
Okay. Probably about less than 10 minutes later, the phone rings.
Hello?
I do love a good unknown number call. You don't get enough of them these days that actually lead to anything. I mean, at least not on a cell phone. Anybody who's going to call you from the message you on a pager, I can't imagine that they're telemarketers. You're not a telemarketer, are you?
Oh, no, I am not, Mr. Mix Tremblay.
Thank you. Oh, goodness. All right, well, in that case, it's a pleasure to hear your voice. I hope you're having a wonderful day. What on earth can I possibly do for you?
I'm Ghost, the new hero. And I am...
Ghost, the new hero. It's very dramatic, very to the point. I like it.
I'm in the need of some Amazonian artifacts.
Oh, aren't we all? All right. You'll have to tell me exactly what it is you need them for. You can't just go loaning them out to anybody you know. Anyone can say they're a hero.
Fair. You saw the giant sea monster on the news?
I did. Very impressive stuff. Very scary stuff. Good thing you were there. Otherwise, the school might have gone...
Supposedly a Atlantean commander creature named Leviathan. One of apparently several of the breed, but I wish to be a bit more prepared.
Sorry, dear. Did you say... You said Atlanteans?
Yes.
As in the lost city of Atlantis?
Yes.
Oh. Oh, we should meet. We can't have this kind of conversation over the phone. You know how it is. At the very least, brunch. It's too late in the day for brunch, and I can't wait until tomorrow. Call it early dinner.
Sure.
Perfect. I'll have a car come by and pick you up.
At this corner.
All right. It's a date. Well, a deal. You know what I mean.
Indeed.
Oh, you know what? I've got to make another phone call. Toodles. And he hangs up. Or they hang up.
Okay, so they've hung up. I'm... and Ghost heads over to the intersection that she provided and waits in uniform.
Okay. There are definitely people who like slow down as they drive by and they take pictures, and a couple of people are like, "Hey, are you the real ghost?" It's a dumb name. It's a dumb name. You should come up with something better.
They still get the finger wave. She's not wearing the domino mask anymore. During the past week, she's successfully gotten like a wraparound kind of like
Dread
bandana,
Pirate Roberts, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's managed to construct that so it's a little bit, more than just like, "Hi, I'm Robin," but nobody knows that I'm actually just great.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
A few minutes later, car does pull up. There is there's a slight pause, and then the window rolls down, and a very obviously automated or automaton driver kind of leans over and says, "Are you Ghost?"
Yes.
"I am your driver," and then kind of straightens out.
I'll get in the car.
As you do, it says seatbelts, safety first, and then
Oh yes.
starts off. As soon as the car starts, there is a little click, and some elevator music kind of starts playing over the radio, and then you hear Cameron's voice. It's very clearly a recording, kind of going through and talking about, this is a prototype of the first self-driving automated car that was designed in, and kind of goes over all the details for who designed the robot and which manufacturer did the car, but the engine was outsourced by blah 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 blah. It is a surprisingly thorough and well-structured history lecture specifically about this car.
It's really good information. I'm curious as to which of my colleagues in the history of science wrote it. I would like to send them that's a really good lecture. Good job.
Maybe
obviously, probably somebody in a completely different university, but
you're not wrong about that part. You can always ask Cameron when you get there. But yeah, the car is very safe. It's very precise in its driving. At one point, someone does kind of jog out right just a little bit past when the light has turned green, and the robot brakes, and you, in a very, again, kind of robotic voice, says, "Hey, I'm driving here," and then continues on after the person moves out of their way, and takes you to a very nice house. It's not like a mansion by any means. It's not one of those ones that's got a wall with a gate.
Yeah.
But it's a very nice house in a nice part of town, and drives up and onto the parking lot, or the parking pad, and there are no doors on the outside of this house that you can see. And as you drive in, there's a little, and then the parking space suddenly retracts into the ground, and then the car pulls back, backs up into a parking spot, and then once you're out, it pulls forward, and the car goes, and the thing goes back up.
Fascinating.
And
I feel like I'm in a very fancy hideout.
Cameron says, welcome, Ghost. Hello, hi, yes," and goes to shake your hand.
I'll shake their hand.
There is a small jolt of electricity, and then your hand kind of passes through his. And he says, he kind of shows a little joy buzzer, a legit practical joke joy buzzer. He says, "Oh, I was hoping that would work."
Triggering my power with electricity?
I just wondered if a little shock might. I don't know.
That's very interesting. I'd never thought of trying that.
Well, it was sort of a last minute. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. Now we know it works. I won't be doing it again. It was more a matter of curiosity than anything. And they take the thing off and stuff it into like one of their many pockets. Wearing a tweed like professor's like blazer that's clearly got extra pockets that have been sewn into it.
Mm-hmm.
And a pair of like these god awful like lime green culottes. That and no shirt underneath the blazer, no shoes. They're just rocking whatever they picked up from their closet this morning.
Sure.
Yep.
I mean, Ghost's in a grayish black leotard with a kind of a bit of something around the waist to try and have a little bit of extra defense.
A little bit of like almost like one of those weightlifting belts, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right now that's kind of what it is, painted black, and the costume designer said it was a good idea because there was a phone conversation that had happened, but there's no costume arrived yet.
Gotcha, okay. Is there a costume on the way? Has one been ordered?
One has been ordered. The conversation with the designer said, yeah, and let's do the Dread Pirate Roberts thing. That'd be amazing. Oh, and you definitely need some kind of, waist protection because getting hit in the middle really hard sucks. So...
And something with pouches, because you need to be able to carry things. Definitely a lot of that.
A bunch of random things. Ghost is like, that sounds great. Wrong color. I'm sorry, what? And in the end, the costume designer had 99% their way, because Edna mode is a vibe for this person in my head.
Who's the professional here? That's right, I am.
Exactly. So something's on the way. It's just not here yet.
Okay. Cameron doesn't seem to bat an eye at any of the costume stuff. I'm. Oh, how did you like the drive?
It was wonderful. I'm curious as to who wrote the lecture. That was really well done and actually one of the better ones I've heard.
Oh, that was me actually.
You wrote it.
I did.
Oh wow, that was amazing.
I suppose a little bit self-indulgent to both write it and narrate it, but it was in a fit of inspiration, and I, couple of all-day stretches, and it just poured right out of me.
I mean,
anyways,
it was a well done history of science lecture from my understanding.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm very sad to know that the car didn't get put into mass production. The oil industry killed it, so it was too efficient, they said.
I read somewhere they did that with electric cars in the 40s after World War II.
Yes, actually, there were more reliable electric cars before there were truly reliable mass-produced internal combustion engines. But that's neither here nor there. Oh, yes. He kind of looks around and he says, apologies for the dramatics. The place went up for auction a few years ago, and I mean, former supervillain's lair, it just was too juicy to pass up.
That was my first thought. I felt like I was coming into a really nice hideout.
Good. I'm glad it didn't lose that element to it. I would be devastated to find out that it had lost that edge. But please, come get settled. Our other guest will be here shortly. I cannot wait. This is going to be fabulous. And leads you to a room that is half, like, cluttered art display and half sitting room.
Please tell me it's one of those sunken round sitting rooms from the 70s?
Oh, yeah. It is now, yes, 100%.
Excellent.
I want one of those in my house. For real, I would love one of those. I realize it's a massive tripping hazard, but it would just be so cool.
Yeah, it is, but it is very cool.
Yeah. They get you situated. Whatever you ask for to drink, they go and bring it themselves. And then they unbutton the blazer and sit and kind of lounge back and kind of sip on their... It is a basically like a... oh my god, what are they called? Bubbly? Is that the like... the
seltzer?
weird seltzer water thing? Yeah. It is in some other language, and there is a celery stalk very prominently on the can. And he's just...
She's just having a iced coffee.
Okay.
Because she's queer and it's necessary.
They bring it to you in a very odd mug that looks like, there's weird little like kind of protrusions that the coffee kind of sits in, and so trying to get the last bit of it without pouring on yourself is a little bit difficult. But yeah, they say, so new to the business, a new hero.
Well, when the need calls, apparently.
It does seem to be calling more and more frequently these days, doesn't it?
Yeah, I hear that Minneapolis and St. Paul over in Minnesota are trying to start a chapter of the union too. And rumor has it that there's somebody in Anchorage that started. Like, what does Anchorage need?
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised. These villains these days, they don't. They're a bit more enterprising. Back in the day, sure, they had flair for originality and then dramatic and such, but really, New York City, I mean, it's a little bit predictable, don't you think? Chicago, oh, you're a villain whose origin story is, like, mired in organized crime. Nobody could have predicted that. It's just, I prefer the ones who start off in some little corner of the world that's practically forgotten, and then they suddenly get their big break. Makes for a more interesting story.
That is true. Those are definitely more interesting stories.
Like you. I mean, who would have thought that, like, new hero would crop up in Portland, of all places? Actually, there are a few, so maybe it's not that uncommon.
I saw the news reports this past week. There's 3
Amber?
or 4 people just starting out. Yeah.
Yeah, Amber, man, I have got to tell you, Amber could do wonders with just a little bit of an outfit maker. Just a little. Like, I love the simplicity. I love the earnestness behind it, but a little tweak I think would do the trick. I don't know what it is yet, but when I figure it out, I'll let her know.
Good idea.
Yeah,
it's a good idea.
So. You must be excited to work with him.
Kind of. I've been prepping myself so that should something happen, I can ask for some assistance still. But at the moment,
you must have him on speed dial or something then.
Figuring out what was needed was more important than asking for help right now. Because until I know what I need, there's no point in asking for help with the things that,
that you don't know you need. Of course. We are talking about the same person, right?
I'm assuming we're both talking about Wrangler.
Yes, good. Okay, I'm glad we were on the same page. I would have been terribly mortified if you thought I was talking about someone else. I assumed you didn't have a dance card full of prospective duos? Team-ups? Sidekicks? Partners?
Oh, definitely not a sidekick. At least not yet. I'm way too new at this.
I mean... doesn't matter.
I'm not going to be a sidekick, and he's not going to be mine, so... Team up works.
Oh, maybe I could be someone's sidekick. I'm meaning to get into this for a few years now. I just keep putting it off. slowly getting older, though. He kind of pokes at they kind of poke at their belly.
That, that's what the original said. It's a game for the young when they retired.
It is. It is. I should put a rug over
wonder
there.
what triggered it all.
I think that area needs a rug. Don't you agree? Thinking something, not lime green, but something a bit more like green.
I can see that.
What were we talking about? Oh yes, sidekicks. Well, maybe next year. So, Atlanteans. Yes, you wanted something from Atlantis.
Atlantis or Amazonian. Yeah.
Oh, right, yes. You said something about Atlantis. You have the Atlantis stuff, I have the Amazon stuff. Right. I got things.
Well, unless
mildly
you've got
confused.
some Atlantis stuff, that'd also be, potentially useful, but Amazonian stuff to fight with
I have
might be useful too.
loads of stuff from Atlantis. All originals. Come. Like basically yanks you up and takes you, up some stairs, then an elevator down, and then it's a bit all over the place.
Villain's lair that got
Yeah.
turned into an eccentric billionaire's house.
Exactly. They take you into a room that is totally dark, and it's weird because the light from the hall doesn't penetrate into the room. And there's probably this hallway is long enough. There are probably 8 of these kind of identical doors that are spaced evenly apart. And they kind of lead you in and say, all right, close your eyes, stand there for just a moment. You hear the door click. He says, and voila! And you hear a light click on.
I'll open my eyes.
And it is wall-to-wall memorabilia from Disney's Atlantis. Which was, I will remind everybody, an animated movie.
It was freaking amazing. It was a great movie.
It was. There are physical props that are made to look like props from the movie Atlantis, but there's no way they could have actually existed from this set, is my point.
So that leads me to a question. Do any of them look like they're very similar in construction to the heart? That similar material, or maybe not necessarily the blue, but similarly built. Not just from the movie, but did somebody use a real object as an inspiration for the movie, and it wound up in
Gotcha. Yeah, there are a couple of items that you kind of do a little bit of a double take, and it's clear these are plastic replicas because they've got the line from the injection mold and stuff like that. But yeah, there are a couple things you're I mean, it's possible that was inspired. There are a couple of the weapons they used were they had kind of coral tipped spear type things, didn't they?
Yeah, that's kind of what it looked like. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, a couple of those they have kind of a similar feel to them as Chancellor's sculptures and everything like that. They were very kind of sea life and sea objects from the sea kind of inspired. So yeah.
I'll look a little closer at those specific items. Any of if they're obviously injection molded and stuff, whatever. But the design of them and the construction of them, beyond the fact that they, it's a resin cast.
Yeah.
What? Where did this design come from?
Says,
I'm going to muse out loud. Like this one and this one. These.
He says, I'm sure I could find out for you.
That would be great. I would love it.
In the meantime, I believe this is something you were here to look at. And you turn around and they're holding a wooden case. You didn't hear them leave the room. That is open. And there are a few items in this case. It's kind of like a velvet lined case. There's like hairpins and like an armband and things like that. There's also a knife that's about yay big. It's probably not a fighting knife. It's probably like a knife, either a tool or an eating instrument. And they're like, all these things are metal, made of copper, maybe a little bit of like, other metals kind of adding as like accent and things like that. Very clearly painstakingly restored to look like new. Not anything added to it or anything, but cleaned and like, polished and things like that.
Yeah. I'm going to... May I? Will move my hand towards it?
Of course, yes.
I'm going to pick up the knife to start with.
Okay. What is... Yeah. You take 4 points of psychic damage as you do. After subtracting the 8 willpower. And kind of like the joy buzzer, kind of like your hand goes incorporeal and the knife kind of falls back onto the case.
I was afraid that would happen.
Says, what did happen there? I mean, I saw the hand a bit, but what did it shock you? Like the
No. It's a different kind of pain.
Oh. Pain isn't good. I don't like pain. It hurts me.
And it's definitely...
I'm gonna steal that 4 of agility for the damage you took, by the way.
That's fine. And that was something that worried me. If you are of Atlantean blood, the Amazonian crafts will hurt you. And I was suggested as having been of Atlantean blood, but
wait,
that I didn't know for sure.
So that
I was hoping it might be the other way around.
So that means you can't wield a knife against the monster.
No, which is why I was planning, once I knew for sure, to contact Wrangler.
Ah, yes, and that is where our fellow hero comes in, and here he is. They turn and like they whip the door open, and there's nobody in the hall.